Hi, everybody. This is Dan again with another episode of A Father's Love Healing Through Heartache. You'll notice that Chris looks a little different tonight. For all our followers, if you could say a prayer for Chris and his family, they are right now, they're up in the hospital in Buffalo, New York with a family emergency that's not looking good. So he needs to take the night off and deal with his family, and we would have it no other way, but he could certainly use your prayers and your support as his family transitions through what's looking like another bad situation for his family. We are thrilled, though, tonight to welcome back Rob Rosenblatt. Uh, Rob and I are on different time zones. I'm on the East Coast, he's out in Vegas. And if you follow us for any amount of time, you watched Rob's episode a little while ago. We Chris and I like to give him a hard time because that was one of our highest rated episodes. So we're just using him, abusing him tonight just to get a ratings bump. So we thought we'd have him back and bring all his people out. But no, in all seriousness, Rob, since he joined us, has some pretty exciting news to share. And with his exciting news comes what I imagine is a whole wide range of emotions. And we just thought it was a perfect time to have him back on. So, Rob, thank you, my friend, for joining us again. And I'm going to turn it over to you to share your story. What is going on with your life?
What is going on? It seems like there's always something, Dan. No, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. My thoughts are with Chris and his family right now, as you stated. I know it's dealing with what he's dealing with. I'm sure is very, very difficult. But I'm very, very happy to be here. Like I said, I wish Chris would have been able to join us, but family, as we know, family is more important than anything we do because um, in the long run, that's what we're going to have at the end. So I'm very happy to be here and give you again another ratings boost. So some updates. So and the last time I was on, well, first of all, let me start here. That I really appreciate this right now, this time of year, because this is some of the most difficult and happiest times of our lives. The twins were born last year, February 11th. And so we last week we were able to celebrate Aurora's birthday with her, and when she was born at 115, so we were able to celebrate birthday with her graveside, which was great to have family here. Oliver, Crystal, and we had family from Georgia come in and family from Arizona come in. And then February 12th, we had a big party for Oliver, but Aurora, the twins were born February 11th, and Aurora passed on February 22nd. So these 11 days from the 11th to the 22nd, just the amount of memories and the amount of emotions that myself and my wife Crystal are going through is it's tough. Actually, today is the 1 year anniversary of when Aurora was brought home from the hospital, which I posted on my Facebook page. I posted on Aurora's story page, and it's something we never thought would happen was bringing Aurora home. And today, February 15th, is the 1 year anniversary. I know this may be airing after that, but it's this time of year that's very tough. Finding a way to remember our princess and not be sad, but also celebrate everything that Oliver has done. He took his first steps the other day, so um, yeah, so definitely emotional time of year. But we do have some exciting things going on. Since I am talking about Aurora, I know last the time I was on here, you did some shameless plugs, and you allowed me to do some shameless plugs for Aurora Story Corporation. So one of the things that my wife and I wanted to do was to create a nonprofit organization in the memory of Aurora, who, for those of you that were on last time or were not on last time, we lost her after 11 days due to holoprosencephaly. She basically, her brain didn't develop. She had a brain stem and very little lower brain. Doctor said that she would not make it through birth. And if she did, we were lucky to have minutes to hours with her. And strongest little girl I know gave us 11 amazing days until she, like I said, passed on February 22nd. So one of the things that my wife and I wanted to do was to honor her memory And last year, when we went through everything went through, we had a lot of resources through the hospital. With Sunrise Hospital here in Las Vegas, has a great pediatric and child unit, a great NICU. We had a lot of resources from them, and one of them was that we were able to get a resource for cremation. So the place where Aurora ended up going to, we did have her cremated, but they took care of that for free. But the only thing we had to do was pay the $125 for the certificates. And when we were living there, it was kind of very emotional last year when this was going on. My wife says it's crazy to think that there are some families that don't even have the money to do that, to come up with $125 to get their child's belongings. So that's where we had kind of talked about doing Aurora Story Corporation, but we were trying to figure out what's that money going to go for. So we wanted to raise money for families that are going through what we're going through for funeral expenses. And so we are very pleased to announce that we finally got our 501c3 paperwork, and we are an official nonprofit. And we actually already had our first fundraiser. It just coincided with the Super Bowl, which was nice. So we did some football squares, and we raised, we're already at about $1,500 in just the short period of time that we've had our corporation going. So for those of you on Facebook, follow Aurora Story. We also have a page called Aurora Story Corporation. That is all the information about all the fundraising that we're going to do, all the events that we're going to do. So like I said, this time of year, we are very excited that we can continue to honor our beautiful princess. And on another note, as we're talking about things to celebrate, found out, probably sometime in December, that my wife, Crystal, she is expecting another baby. So, which means that she's expecting, of course, that means I'm expecting too. She does all the hard work though. My work's done for the time being. She is expecting another baby. For us, it was difficult in the sense of when we found out she was pregnant with the twins back in August of 20, we had started making all of our plans for having two babies. And then as time went on, we found out all the difficulties and all the struggles that we were going to have with Aurora. And we wanted, again, we had all these plans for two babies, and it just wasn't in the cards at the time. We wanted two kids at the time when we first found out that she was pregnant, before it was even twins. We're like, oh, we're going to have two kids. She was excited to knock them both out of the way at once. And so, yes, we decided to have a third child now, which, as I say third child, that also becomes kind of, I don't want to say touchy to say, but, currently we have Oliver, and Aurora's not with us, but, our next baby is still going to be our third baby. And sometimes I know one of the conversations that we were having, I think last week for Facebook, was things people say, and sometimes they don't recognize that, yes, this next baby is going to be our third and not just our second, because, of Aurora still will always be our child. So anyway, so we found out in December that we were going to have another baby, and, Crystal went through all of her doctor's appointments, and we actually did not, it's not twins, by the way, let me go there. It's not twins. So that was one of the things that we were worried about too, was the higher percentage of having twins the second time when she had it the first time. So in this case, it is definitely not twins. My wife is very relieved by that, even though she actually felt worse with this one than she did with the twins. She didn't have morning sickness, she had evening sickness. And it went on for a good couple of weeks, where she was just, every night I would come home from work, I'd start taking care of Oliver, and by 6 o'clock she'd be upstairs throwing up, which I feel bad about, but at least gave me some quality time with Oliver. So, but no, I felt bad that she was sick, but now she's past that, and everything is going really, really well. It's, we have to ask those tough questions at the doctor's appointment. So one of the first appointments that she had with the ultrasound was, we wanted to look at the brain. So with Aurora, she did not have, like I said, she didn't have a full brain and very little lower brain. So there wasn't the two hemispheres. So, of course, we have to ask that question, well, what do you see with the brain? The heartbeat is really strong. The brain is in the two hemispheres. They can see the development of the brain. Aurora didn't have thumbs, so of course we have to ask the question, of, are there 10 fingers or 10 toes? Not that it matters, because we would love our child as equally. And Aurora was absolutely beautiful without her thumbs. But, questions like that, with the holoprosencephaly, a lot of those babies have cleft palates. So, we're asking that. The heart, how the heart looks, because with Aurora, she also had what was called truncus. So the heart was basically one big clump, and didn't have the valves that it needed. Aurora also had organs that were on opposite sides, and so questions about organs. And our last ultrasound, they did a full, this was February 8th, they did a full anatomy scan, and as far as my wife goes, she is doing everything she's supposed to be. The weight gain is exactly where it's supposed to be. Her blood pressure is perfect. That's part of the reason the twins came so early, because they were 5 weeks premature, was because her blood pressure was high. But right now, everything's going great. I mean, she's a perfectly healthy mommy right now. And so then, of course, we did the scan with the baby, and everything is, I don't want to use the word perfect, because I definitely don't want to jinx it, but everything is the way it's supposed to be. And so, of course, like I said, the twins were born February 11th. So the ultrasound was held on February 8th, and that is when we found out the gender of the baby. And, with Aurora, I had 11 days where, I'm still a girl dad, so part of the way I'm saying this, but I had 11 days holding my girl and being a full-blown girl dad with her in my life, which is always going to be my life. But I think you guys understand what I'm saying with this. And so experiencing the love for those 11 days, I'm like, I got more girl love to give. So the entire time I wanted a girl, and I would have been happy either way, but really was hoping for that girl. So Oliver could, have another younger sister. And my wife was very scared about that, because she's like, we're going to find out the gender, and if it's a boy, you might make me keep it in there longer. I'm like, no, honey, it's going to be okay. So we found out last week on, like I said, February 8th, that we are going to be having our second little girl. So like I said, this time of year, where we are revisiting all of the anniversaries, and her anniversary coming up on February 22nd, to find out that we are having a girl means a lot to us. And so a lot of big things going on between the Aurora Story Corporation. And Crystal's currently at 21 weeks, so she's more than halfway there. Our baby number 3 is due on June 29th. Right in time for me to get out of school, right in time for me to have a nice little summer break and spend some time with her. Oliver at that point will be 16 months, so of course we don't mess around. Figure we're supposed to have 2 anyway. Let's get the 2 little babies together and have our next little girl be baby number 3, and love her just as much as we did Aurora, and we still do Aurora and Oliver. So that's where I'm at in my life these days.
So anything exciting going on in your life? Sounds pretty routine and boring, Rob.
I'm so boring. I was hoping to increase the ratings for you by sharing something exciting, but I'm sorry, Dan. Nothing. Boring man.
It's quite the letdown, so I don't know that we'll have you back anymore. So, no, Rob, that's amazing, and so many things that we can talk about here. First of all, I want to share some things that we found out after we recorded our first episode. Rob actually knows one of Erica's best friends. Rob is a principal out in Las Vegas, and when we were Facebook stalking each other after meeting at our first episode, we discovered that he worked with one of Erica's best friends, so that was kind of cool. The more important connection, there's 2 important connections that Rob and I discovered with each other when we first met, is, and I don't know that you actually said it tonight. What is Oliver's middle name, Rob?
Jameson.
So that, obviously, when I heard that, just busted me wide open. I feel blessed to know this man that I'm talking to right now. And we're just starting to get to know each other, but I think there is a reason why we've been connected. And that's obviously special. The other major connection is that, as you heard Rob say, February 22nd is his 1-year angelversary with Aurora. and February 27th is our third year with Jameson. So Rob and I both had our children pass on to heaven very closely to each other. So those are connections that hold dear to my heart, and so I appreciate you, Rob, very much, and I like. I'm glad that we get to know each other and just walk through this life together.
And I agree 100%. I just love how you said that there's something that brought us together.
Yeah.
And I do believe there's all these connections. It just doesn't happen out of the blue. So I agree 100% with you on that.
So some of the things that you said, and these are coming from my personal thoughts, but also just reading grief boards on Facebook or wherever. You talked about that your new young lady is your third child. And for people who are listening, that is apparently one of the many things that grieving parents struggle with. Of, do I have, in my case, do I have one child or do I have two? And in Rob's case, does he have two children or does he have three? Because people all the time, they ask us when they meet us, oh, do you have kids? How many? And we struggle. So, Rob, do you want to talk any more about you and your wife's feelings about why you say third child?
Honestly, as you're like, when I meet people and they ask how many kids you have, that's tough. Like, I mean, of course, we refer to Aurora as going to be, I mean, as our next little girl is going to be our third child, but I have difficulty, especially. I mean, I'm sure I don't know what you say in that situation. I mean, I do say I talk about Oliver a lot. People know Oliver. Everybody in my school knows. Well, everybody at school knows Oliver and Aurora. Which I maybe know Aurora a little more. Anyway, but it's I it's Crystal had two babies already. Gonna have a third one. She will always be. I mean, our next little girl. I'm not going to say her name right now because I don't want we already picked her name. Don't want my wife to kill me after everybody finds out before. Anyway,
I can edit that out too if you do slip up. If it depends on the ratings boost again.
Yeah. So baby number 3 will always be our third child. The difficulty that I have, I think it just depends on the way the question's asked. I mean, how many kids do you have? I mean, I currently have one. But I had two, and then what do you say? Do you say, "Oh yeah, we had twins, but we lost our daughter"? Like, you just meet somebody, and do you say that? It's really tough, and it's really awkward position when you first meet somebody. Of course, now that I know people, I will always say 3 once they know of Aurora. But it's tough when I first meet people.
Yeah, and for me, it's a no-brainer. I have two sons. Jameson is who made Erica a mother, and Jameson is who made me a father. And he's in heaven, but he is my son, and he will always be my son. And I think of it like when our mothers and fathers pass away and grandparents, do we no longer have a mother and a father and a grandparent? Then why would we no longer have a son or a daughter when they pass away? Just they're in different places, but I have 2 kids. There's no doubt about it. So.
And I love you saying that because I think now after hearing, somebody else say that, I have no problem referring to it as, like I said, it's just a touchy subject because then if they move on to ask how are the kids doing or what are if they start asking things about them, then don't want to make other people uncomfortable, which I shouldn't have to worry about other people, especially when it comes to my daughter. But Oliver's doing great. We lost Aurora after 11 days.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's tough.
Yeah. And anybody that's listened to our show knows Chris and I have discussed numerous times the different things people say and how it's hard to address almost everything that we're asked. And I think my general greeting now is, if I'm asked that question, is I have 2 sons. I have Reese here and Jameson's in heaven. And I lay it on the table right away. And then I'll deal with whatever the follow-up is. If there is any, I'll deal with that. But I want people to know about Jameson. It's that simple.
I hear you. And I mean, you know how I am. I want people to know about my Aurora too.
Yeah,
So you know that. I think everybody knows that about me.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You talked about your new little baby number 3, which is just amazing, amazing news, and I'm super happy for you and your wife and for Oliver. Can you dive into what I imagine is just the biggest roller coaster, or maybe second biggest roller coaster that you've ever been on emotionally?
Yeah, I think right now it's because of the time of the year is what's making it the roller coaster. Because, like I said, we had the birthdays last week, and we did something separate for Aurora and something separate for Oliver, and just the emotions of, and even going forward, having twins, and and how do you make sure Oliver is getting all that attention, but then without taking away from his celebration. So I know I'm kind of digressing from your question that you asked, but just made me think about this part too. And that's one of the things my wife and I talked about is like, we want to celebrate Oliver every single year, but we also don't want the sadness that's going to go along with Aurora, because honestly, on February 11th, there was a lot of tears shed. So, one of the things my wife said the other day is, as Oliver gets older, let him decide what he's going to do, how he wants to celebrate his birthday. We are raising him to know his sister. He comes down the stairs every morning. We have our big giant, the ones, behind me. We have that one in our house, and then we have another set of pictures, and bring him down every morning, and we're like, and there's Princess Aurora, and I refer to her as Sissy, and he'll sit there and wave at the picture. So we're raising this kid to know his sister, and know that, one of his favorite toys that he has is a Princess Aurora stuffed animal, a Princess Aurora doll. And so we're just raising him to know his sister. So going back to your question of the roller coaster that we're on, right now we're on a huge roller coaster. I feel like I shouldn't say that. I feel like once we get past, February 20, maybe the month of February, it might not be as emotional. But I think knowing that we have a girl coming, and knowing that, we already had a girl and we didn't get as much time with her as we wanted. I think it's going to be very difficult. One of my friends I posted the other day about how excited they are that we're having a girl, and by no means is this new girl going to take away from Aurora. And so that's one thing that I feel like we might have to struggle with as this new girl gets older is, of course we're going to raise her to know about Aurora, and without her having to think that she's like a replacement, because It's definitely not. We are so excited. We're going to, she's our baby. So, that's one thing I think that we're, as we get on as years, something that we're going to probably have to face. But I think hopefully the way that we raise her, we won't have to face that, but you never know. But yeah, it is definitely, especially when doctor said last week that it's a girl. I'm not going to lie, I'm a pretty emotional guy at times, and I did shed a couple of tears because it was really exciting. But again, then you think about everything else on it. So yeah, it's emotional.
Yeah,
and I know you that doesn't like the phrase emotional roller coaster. Or was that Chris? Because the last time I was on here, like, let's not talk about emotional roller coaster.
I'm gonna blame Chris on that one because I don't remember having that thought, but I'm also way too old to remember everything I think about. So I'll plead the fifth and blame Chris since he's not here, and he'll correct us.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, I've wrestled, and we're not in the boat of having any more kids, but I've wrestled with that thought of, if we were to go that way and be able to, I mean, yeah, how do you balance? And I don't like the word balance now that I said it, because it's not a balancing act. It's our third child, and he or she is not a replacement for Jameson. He is his own child and with his or her own life. And I'm curious to hear as you walk down that road how you and your wife do navigate that path.
Yeah, and as we're talking, I'm also, I'm probably very similar to you as far as the Facebook groups that we're a part of. I know we're a part of the Grieving Dads group, but I'm also part of the Parents of Twinless Twins group.
Right.
And so in there, I mean, I think that's a question I'm going to pose to them is like, how do we make sure? And I don't know if there's ever a way to make sure it's not going to happen.
Right.
But what can we do to try to prevent it from happening? Because that's going to be something we're definitely going to struggle with.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess.
And I know the other day when you reached out, one of the things we were talking about too was about things people say.
Yeah.
I know that was one of I think I made a post about that when we found out that we were having the baby, they would ask the gender, and we're like, oh, we don't know yet, and then we're like, oh, as long as they're healthy. Somebody in my family even said, as long as they have all their fingers and toes, and that really struck a nerve with me.
Yeah.
In the sense of Aurora wasn't healthy. Aurora didn't have all her fingers and toes. She didn't have thumbs, but she was absolutely perfect. So I know, like I said, we were talking about things, and people don't say those things to be mean or demeaning, but I think, I know we have dads that listen to this, but if you're not a grieving parent, I think we just got to bring awareness to being careful about what you say, because especially to a grieving parent that's going through something like this, honestly, I, of course, as long as she's healthy, I want my baby to be healthy, but I'm not going to love her any less if she's not. I didn't love her any less when she wasn't healthy. I didn't love her any less because she didn't have her thumbs. So, I think we just got to be careful. I know, I don't know if your school is doing anything for the February 22nd to 2222. I had a staff member of mine reach out and come up with a plan of, hey, let's do this. And one of the things that she wanted to do was Twin Day. And February 22nd happens to be Aurora's first anniversary. And of course she doesn't know, and she didn't
Right.
make that connection. And I think after I told her about it, she felt really, really bad after it, which was not my intention at all. But, to Twin Day, February 22nd, anniversary. Twin Day is already very sensitive with me, but then again on her anniversary. So, like I said, just try to bring awareness of, how to approach and how to talk to grieving parents, because sometimes it's not meant intentionally, but
right.
Yeah, it hurts.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you for just taking that, because I was trying to think of the right way to ask that question without wording it in a very poor way myself. But yeah, when I read that post, my jaw hit the floor that somebody would actually say that who knew you. And Chris and I it may have even been last week's episode, we talked again about words. We revisited the words people use and how they affect us and how they change, how our reaction to them changes as we're a year, 2, 3 into this journey. And I was floored when I saw that, and that there's a big difference between people that know you and your story and complete strangers. And we give grace. We try to give grace to everybody. I think strangers maybe get a little more grace in one way, that they don't know your story. It still hurts or angers us, but maybe we can just walk away a little bit easier. But coming from people who know us and love us, that hurts that hurts me when they say any of these little cliches or whatever, and it's like, you do remember my story, right?
And the amount of people that have said to me, as long as they're healthy. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people I know that have said that to me. And of course they're not doing it to be mean, but it's like I had to put that out there because those people that know me are pretty much probably gonna be Facebook friends with me. And so like and then I even had a couple of them reach out and like, yeah, you should never say that. And I'm thinking to myself, you said that to me already. So come on now.
Right.
Take some ownership of your words. So and they probably say that and not realize they say that afterwards.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they because they don't think it's a big deal. It's just another word to them. And so, I mean, it's offending me. But just like we do, we do this every single day in our lives, Dan, with our kids. They say things they don't mean to say, and they forget. They don't even remember they said it, but it was hurtful to somebody. And so I think the same thing happened with these people. They're like, they said it. They didn't mean to be mean. They totally forgot they said it. But I'm like, you're guilty of it yourself. So, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and Chris and I talked about it last time with the heart and the intent obviously drives a big part of our reaction. If we know it's coming from a good, sincere place, we can ignore it, brush it off, rebound from it a little bit easier. But just we hope that we can open people's eyes a little bit wider, that as much as we know it's an extremely difficult thing to talk to us, and sometimes impossible to talk to us and not say something that's going to hurt us or offend us, if it's coming from a sincere heart with a good intention, we do want to hear from you, but just if you can, put a little more thought into the words before they leave your mouth. And that's good advice for anybody who's living, grief or not. We all need to give better thought to our words, but in our cases, if we're talking about kids and whatever, try to take that extra second or two to really think about what's about to come out of your mouth, to see if it could easily be misinterpreted.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any plans other than, like you mentioned, celebrating Aurora's birthday? Do you have any plans that you want to share to of a way you may honor her on the 22nd? Or is it just you're going to go as you usually do?
I mean, I don't think we've really made any plans. Every 11th, and so the birthday is the 11th, the day of her passing is the 22nd. So we have a tradition where every 11th and 22nd we go visit her. And so we definitely will make sure that we will continue that tradition, and not just because it's the first year, but continue that tradition probably the rest of our lives while we're here, and hopefully Oliver and our new baby will carry that on as well. But we really haven't talked about how, if we're going to do anything different. I know I'm working. I'm taking off too much work between Oliver's birthday and just he gave me this thing known as, I shouldn't blame it on him because 10 years down he's going to watch this and he's going to like have daddy issues. The Aquarius tendonitis. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, but it's the constant moving. It still hurts of like the baby, like that constant moving. So I had tendonitis. So I had wrist surgery because of the picking up of this chunky little guy. Well, I like to blame it on him. I don't know if it really was him, but that constant movement anyway. So I took off work because of that, and I took off work for that. So I really need to be here for February 22nd. Crystal and I do have shirts with the saying that remembrance for her. Of course, we will go visit her. I don't think we really have made a set plan, and a lot of times when it comes to the 22nd or things, we just see what happens and see how our feelings go. Like even on the 11th when we did our birthday, we originally planned on just going to see her and have some cupcakes, sing her happy. And we didn't even know if we were supposed to sing her happy birthday, if we were going to do, what we were going to do. And then when we sing happy birthday, do we, because it's technically Oliver and Aurora's birthday, do we say happy birthday Oliver and Aurora, even though we're there celebrating Aurora? Just like on Oliver's birthday, like we sing happy birthday, are we supposed to be singing it for Aurora too? So like these kind of things that you're going through for the first time, it's tricky. And so on Oliver's birthday, it was just Oliver. And I think when we did Aurora's party, we did Oliver and Aurora, if I'm not mistaken. And so we didn't really have any plans there. We just wanted to go and, spend some time with her. And we ended up spending about 45 minutes and just sat there. We got her some balloons. And we, that morning we went and picked up cupcakes because we weren't even going to do that. We were just going to go. And so it's probably just going to be a spur of the moment. All right, you're off work. Let's go. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And like I talked last time, that's kind of how Crystal and I work. Like, she has these ideas. I'm like, oh, sounds good. And just like everything we went through with Aurora, we were always on the same page. And it's like, even with this whole thing now, we're both very passive in the sense of, you want to do something, let's do it. Because anything we can do is, yeah.
I think you're doing a great job, again, highlighting life as difficult as it is to make choices of what to do, how to do things. And there's just that extra layer when you're grieving the loss of a child of, how do we celebrate birthdays? And we don't know until we get there on a lot of these things. We can make plans and they can fall apart because they become terribly painful. We can have no plans and then something just springs up. We don't know, but we're always wrestling with thoughts of what's appropriate and what's not.
Can I ask you this, Dan?
Absolutely.
I don't think we've had a conversation. What do you guys currently do for Jameson, and what did you guys do the first year?
Well, and that's where I'm hoping that if you like this idea, I want to encourage your friends and family to steal it. For Jameson's anniversary of his passing on February 27th, we've encouraged all of our followers and friends to provide meals for first responders, because we had, again, as I've shared before, we had, 20 or 30 different vehicles outside of our house within 10 minutes of Erica calling 911 on that morning. And it was 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. And that many people just got up, left their families, and they were here to serve us. And I know at least 2 of them are still dealing with the trauma of seeing a little boy die. And I hate that because, as I've shared, I'm 99.9% sure that Jameson was already dead when I found him. So I have complete peace in my heart that there is nothing that they could have done to save him. And I know, as different from what Chris went through at the hospital, they were trying things, and Chris has shared that he's questioned some of the moves the doctors made. I don't question anything because I just have that feeling that he was already gone. But I have the most sincere appreciation of first responders for the hell that they must see every single day trying to serve other people. So we ask everybody, and I actually just posted it on our page an hour ago, that we ask anybody that it's on their heart to reach out to your local first responders, whatever department is on your heart, and see if you can take them a meal on the 27th, and just let them know that that's in honor of an amazing 9-year-old boy that they did their best to save, and they're appreciated. And the other big thing that we do now that we have our foundation is we run a fundraiser for, we call it 27 on the 27th, and we ask everybody that if you support what we're trying to do with Jameson's Joy, that if you could make a donation of $27 or any multiple of 27, we would appreciate that. And we also ask, if you're able, if you have healthy children at home, maybe you make a donation of $27 for each healthy child that you have. But it's a small way to, first of all, acknowledge our pain. It's a big way to remember our son, and and it's encouraging for us to know that we're being supported with what we're trying to give back to the community through our pain. And so we're running that fundraiser, and that's with Rob. With your permission, I'd like to ask your friends, family, followers to do 22 on the 22nd, and maybe they can help get the Aurora's Foundation, Aurora Story Corporation off to an amazing start and make a donation of $22 to you and your organization to help with your mission of paying for funeral costs and whatever else you decide to do along the way. It'd be, in my eyes, for me and my family, it's a great way to make a tribute to Jameson. And I'll leave that up to you if you want to say anything about that.
I'm honored that you would say that, because that's after I saw when you posted the 27th for the 27th for the 27th. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea, and that I would love to steal that for Aurora doing 2022 on the 22nd. Saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that, and I'm like, yeah, I would definitely love to, and that's something that run it by the wife, and I appreciate you offering that, and I think it would be a great way to honor both of our children.
Absolutely.
For you, and for those of my, as it is a ratings boost, those of my friends, my followers that are on here on our story page, I did post. So this is Dan, father of Jameson. I did post the Jameson's Joy Foundation and the 27th to the 27th there. So if you aren't on Jameson Joy's page, make sure you go there. But also you can jump on Aurora Story page and you will see the link to Jameson's Joy.
Yeah.
So absolutely, man.
And I have to imagine that somewhere in the couple hundred people who listened to the first time you were on, I have to imagine that a lot of them are in Vegas, and one of them has been to a casino and had a good night. I mean, just saying, Rob, that somebody out there maybe could do a little more than the 27 and the 22, or add
right.
add a few zeros and really help us out, right?
Absolutely. I might have to go to play some roulette on the 27th for you, Dan, and just let it all ride on 27 and see what happens there.
There you go. Hey,
27 on 27 with all the proceeds going to Jameson's Joy. I think that'd be great.
That would be amazing. So that would be I'm always looking for signs, and that would be a pretty cool sign. So Rob, anything else you want to share?
No, I really don't. I just, I shouldn't say I don't, because I feel like I say I don't and then I do share anyway. I just, again, want to give you, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the first time about Aurora, this time continue to share about Aurora, as well as now the corporation that is, her foundation that is up and running, as well as all the extra fun stuff that's going to be coming up here in the next couple of months for my family. And also, again, to all the dads out there and all the parents that are going through this, there are resources, there are people. I mean, I know when Aurora passed, we couldn't have got through this without some of the support groups on Facebook. We couldn't have got through it without people, random people reaching out to us. We have gotten really, really close with a family in the UK whose daughter currently has holoprosencephaly. Her daughter is, I want to say 11 months now, going to be a year. And so it's like something like that. We're kind of living, part of Aurora's life through her. And so the amount of people, the connections that we made through what happened, as difficult as an experience as it was, and as difficult as an experience that it continues to be, there are resources, there are people, there's a lot of great, Dan, I wish I would have met you under better circumstances, but I am so grateful that I did have the opportunity to meet you. So out of misery, there are some great things that do come out of it. And so just everybody know there are people here to help you. There are resources. I know I offered this last time. I'm always here to listen. I don't need to talk, even though it sounds like I'm long-winded. I don't need to talk. I'm also a good listener. I know Dan's the same way, that we're just, people for you if you need an outlet. And I know for me, this has been a great outlet, both times. And just, occasionally touching base with you is definitely great. Just to, hear what you have to say. It's, yeah, there's ways to get through it.
Yeah.
And there's people, resources that can help you get through these things.
Absolutely. And you just added something, I think, a very important point. Chris and I have talked numerous times about how we need people to help carry us through life now, through us sometimes more than others. But you just highlighted another thing I don't think we've ever talked about, is that we live our lives through other people now. I have, in my life, I have a gap with baseball. I'm living Jameson's life of loving baseball through the Transylvania Little League and through a couple of his best buddies. And you're living it through that family in the United Kingdom, I think you said.
Which, if I can plug real quick, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Jovi's Journey. Little girl's name is Jovi. Jovie, and it's Jovi's Journey. Again, Crystal and I started following them. When we found out about Aurora's condition, we started following their story, and then we started our Facebook page, and then they started following Aurora's story. And she was currently, the mom, Deborah, was currently pregnant at the time, and she was told to terminate because the baby was incompatible with life. And now here's Jovi going on almost a year with us. And yeah, like I said, we made a great, again, UK, so right. We have a great connection through them. So again, that's Jovi's Journey. Check it out. Send them support. I know Jovi's going through some things right now. And I know how, Deborah and Chris, parents, are feeling, but I know also how Chris and I are feeling every time that we read something about Jovi just struggling. It just, takes us back to those moments with Aurora. So if you get a chance, check them out.
Yeah. And I want to highlight that again. You just said they were told to terminate the pregnancy.
They were told because, and we were told the same thing, that we had the option to terminate with Oliver and Aurora.
Right.
And of course we chose, I think we talked about this last time, we chose not to because, of course, we had Oliver, who was perfectly healthy, but they were told to terminate. And, again, it's UK. I'm not 100% sure, how the thought process or the doctors, how the system is out there. But yeah, they were told to terminate the pregnancy because the baby, they were told, is incompatible with life.
Okay.
And so on Jovi's Journey page, they have also started a foundation in honor of Jovi. And it's for families that have been given the diagnosis of incompatible with life. And like I said, here's this baby that's incompatible with life, but is going on being alive for a year.
Right. Wow. Imagine, to all the parents out there, imagine being told those words. Your child's incompatible with life. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, Rob, one more time, tell everybody super clearly, Facebook, website, all the shameless plugs. How can they find you and Crystal and Aurora's story?
So we do have one site that's called a Facebook group that's called Aurora Story. And that is just kind of like we started that after the day Aurora was born, just as we wanted her to write her own story, is what we kind of said the entire time. And so that's why we called it Aurora Story. And then we just figured, so we already had Aurora Story, let's start our corporation, our foundation, and call it Aurora Story Corporation. So there's two different sites. Like I said, the Aurora Story, simply that one, is the journal of everything from February 11th, 2021. I know Crystal and I still constantly post things on there as well, just kind of our thoughts and feelings. I think today I posted the video of when Crystal brought Aurora home from the hospital, which wasn't expected to happen, and we brought her home. And then the other site is Aurora Story Corporation, which is going to have all the information about her foundation and all the fundraising we're going to do. Like I said, we just had football squares for the Super Bowl. We sold 300 squares, and we with donations as well as the squares, we have already with that first event $1,500 that we raised. And so we do have other things that we're planning throughout the year. And so just kind of, if you go to Aurora Story Corporation, I'll say that again, Aurora, that's Aurora, Story Corporation. That'll have all the information about the fundraising opportunities and everything we're going to do for her and in her memory.
Awesome. And then again, Jovies Journey, Jovies,
Journey.
to if you're interested in learning more about that. And then, as always, Jameson's Joy for my end, Miles for Mason for Chris. We're on Facebook, websites, all over the place. And again, look for Rob on his Facebook pages after he talks to his wife, Crystal. Maybe he'll launch a 22 on the 22nd fundraiser. And what a great way to honor an amazing young lady. And it would, if that's something they choose to open up, we hope that everybody will go crazy in supporting that. And we're obviously hoping that people can support us on our 27 on the 27th with whatever you're able to give. There's a lot of people out there trying to turn some pretty awful things into something with a positive take. And that's what at least Rob, Chris, and I are trying to do. And we appreciate everybody's support. We appreciate everybody listening and joining us each week. So, Rob,
Absolutely.
any final words?
No, I think I said it all, Dan. Again, I just appreciate the opportunity to share and appreciate the opportunity to, let me talk about the princess and my next little girl that's coming. And like I said, just the platform is great. Aurora Story Corporation.
Awesome. Well, Rob, it was great to see you. Great to talk with you again. Thanks for joining. And I think we're going to have to do this somewhere. I was going to say July, but I guess we'll give you 1 month to get accustomed to your new little lady. But maybe August or September, we can carve out an hour and check in again.
And I could have her join us, or you guys could just make your trip to Vegas already and call it in.
So, you talked about the Super Bowl next year. It's in Vegas, right?
Come on.
And Chris and I fully intend on having our Bills there. And if that happens, we're coming, buddy.
All right. You know where to find me.
All right. Well, thanks, Rob, so much for joining us.
Lions Super Bowl?
What? Say that again?
Or maybe a Bills-Lions Super Bowl?
Hey, we'll take it. If that happens, my uncle will come too. He's a disheartened Lions fan for life. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, Rob, thank you so much. Everybody who's been listening, thank you for just letting us share our voice and share our thoughts. And with that, we'll close out this episode of A Father's Love, Healing Through Heartache.